So Jeevan, welcome. Welcome to biohacking. I don't know if you know what biohacking is, but it's the art and science of peak performance, peak health, and all that kind of stuff. And you're a mindset expert, and so mindset is a big part of it.
Yeah,
Like it's I've learnt over the years that it's actually a very crucial part. It makes the difference between success and failure.
yeah,
Because it doesn't matter what you know if your mind isn't correctly aligned, then it's not going to work. Tell me who you are first. Yeah, let's start with that. Tell me who you
yeah.
are.
So, just to touch on what you just said there first, before explaining who I am, it's absolutely crucial that as human beings we share ideas, whether it's you learning something from me learning something from you, Joe, or whether it's on one of the other podcasts and the other guests. So it's really important that we do share information. So just coming back to who I am. So my name is Jeevan. I'm a transformational coach, and I also work as a financial advisor as well. I'm an author to a book called Become a Person of Value, which is geared towards becoming your best self, much aligned to this podcast essentially. I've got a second book on the way, and that's going to be more of a journal-based approach, whereby I ask you a question a day. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? What do you think's holding you back? What traits do you like in some of your friends and which don't you? Etc. And then you write down your answers that will then help you get some trajectory moving forward. I'm also a member of Mensa, which means top 2% of IQ in the country, in the world. And I'm also into judo, and I'm currently number 13 in the country to under 73 kilos weight. Now, you can see there that, and I'm just coming back to the financial advisor side for the moment, I was actually in the Times newspaper as well for one of the top advisors in the country. So you can see that there's a level of performance, yeah, and that all comes down to mindset. You know what? Yes, I have got a top 2% of IQ, but that is not the differential here. The differential is the mindset. I was kicked out of school as a kid, expelled for an array of poor behaviour, going over or spanning over a number of years. And there's been a mentality shift since then, which has helped me to actually start to fulfil my potential. And I'm not finished yet. I think that I've got a long way to go, but it's all about the grey matter up there and how you're looking at things. And are you thinking in the way of a champion or not? Are you pessimistic? Are you looking at obstacles and challenges as good things, or are you looking at them as bad things? So it's all of that, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that over the course of the conversation, Joe. So hopefully that's a good enough introduction.
No, it's good. So how did what made you want to become a mindset? There's like a whole array of different coaches, but why mindset?
Yeah, so I think that mindset's such a crucial part of all the other underlying areas. So, if you're having relationship problems or problems at work or performance problems, or you are not going through the best stage in life, so, you've resorted to drugs and alcohol and gambling and all those sorts of things, a lot of the time it just comes back to mentality. That is a common theme with all of those areas. Whether you want to go from an average athlete to a top level athlete, it's the mindset. Yes, there is technical sides. No one's saying that just by thinking alone you can become a world champion. But what thinking does do, and thinking in a particular way, allows you to then take action. So if you just say, look, I'm going to become a world champion within 5 years, and you really strongly believe that, your daily habits and your daily goals and routines will be in line with someone who will likely get there. And I'm not saying you will, but it will give you a much better chance to improve as an individual. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
we have to use the mind to, coming back to a very cliche phrase, think big. It's exactly what we should do with our minds, is think as big as possible. Look, if we're going to think of an idea that's going to take us up to the stars, we might only land on the clouds. Yeah. But it's a lot better than aiming to the top of the house and only getting to the window. because
Yeah.
as soon as you've elevated your goals and how hard you're going to work and the structure and routine, the results are likely to be better than what you were originally going to experience, if that makes sense, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned, well, at the moment there's a your website is called Vanquish. Why Vanquish? Vanquish.
Well, it means to sort of conquer and win, which is why, for me, it's really important that, as with any sort of brand, it needs to have some sort of relevance. Like I think Nike or Nike is the Roman god of sport, if I'm not mistaken. So that there has to be some relevance in a name to what they are providing as a service or product. Now, it's not always the case. You get random names like Amazon and other things. And I know it's not random because obviously there's a rainforest, but sometimes it's not got some relevance. But I think with coaching and service-based approaches, I think it is important to have a word relevant to obviously the service being provided.
Okay. And what is a person of value?
Okay, so we'll stick with Amazon for the time being,
Yeah.
just because it's something that you've mentioned. So Amazon, such a big business, isn't it? It's worth billions and billions of dollars, and obviously it's headed up by Jeff Bezos and a number of other shareholders in there as well. Now, what makes Amazon so valuable? He didn't set out thinking, right, I'm going to shaft everyone. I'm going to just get rich quickly by the rich get rich quick schemes. You can't do that. He has to provide a value. So he's saying, okay, well, what value can I bring that's going to be so enormous, so fantastic that it's going to give me benefit as well over the long term? So he started with Amazon, started off with books, obviously, but he can now get you anything you want, pretty much within reason, at a pretty good price, delivered to you the same or next day. Now, there's no one else out there doing that. And that value that he's brought forward is giving him the financial wealth that goes with that. So very much like Amazon, with ourselves, and you've asked earlier as well, why did I go down the mindset route? Because I feel that it was something that I needed to sort in my own life as well, and now I'm here to share it with other people. Because as I said, top 2% of IQ, but at school I was kicked out and probably didn't get the grades that I needed. And what I came to realise is that, and a really good phrase that sums this up is Jim Rohn, who said that frustration is going for an above average job with above average pay without becoming an above average person. Yeah. And that's where a lot of people sit, don't they? They want the 100 grand job, but they don't want the 100 grand worth of skill set. So the book, Become a Verse on a Value, is to say, look, you need to become valuable in order to bring in a better spouse, a better house, a better car, better income, better job, more freedom just on a general basis. And how can we go about doing that? Well, we need to understand their mentality and improving that. We need to understand how to set goals correctly, how to communicate better, how to be more grateful for what we already have got. Because look, everything you've got and everything I've got, someone else is jealous of. Yeah. I've got hair, some people don't. I live in the UK, some people live in Syria or Afghanistan, which they obviously want to move out, away from. I've got my own house and a car and a dog. Some people don't even have a driving license. Yeah, they're on the bus. So we have to be grateful for what we've got to keep us in a good vibrational state. There's other chapters such as psychology, spirituality as well, how to motivate yourself. So there's all these chapters that are all geared towards you becoming your best self. And to actually pick up a book, you need to be in the right mental mind frame anyway, because you need to have asked yourself the question: well, do I want to be my best self? Yes. How do I go about doing that? Well, I need to read literature. I need to focus on a day-to-day basis, and have a goal in mind. Without asking the right questions, we would never get the right answers. So let's take a live example of yourself, Joe. You've got a podcast and you wanted to grow it 25 times. Yeah. There's no point in saying, well, I want to grow it 25 times and that's it. That's your end result. We need to then ask the questions and reverse engineer how we get there. Okay, so what is my current number of listeners. What does 25 times of that look like? What demographic of people am I currently focusing on? And are they going to? And do I want that to be the same moving forward? How can I increase my reach on social media platforms? How can I obviously strike up deals with other, whether it's guests or other podcasts, to ensure that I can again increase my reach on that basis? Do I need to become more generalist as a podcaster, or do I need to become niched down into a very specific area that will maybe get listeners that are interested in that very key area? So these are the sorts of questions that we have to understand. How can I get better or what guests could I bring on that's going to bring a following with them? Yeah, so obviously if it's, let's just use Dan Bilzerian just because it's the first one that came to mind. If he came on your podcast, because he's got so many followers, you might, off the back of that one guest, get all of those followers as well. So yeah, they're the sort of sub-questions that we have to ask. And mentality-wise as well, we have to ask ourselves the questions in order to achieve. Why do I want to win? What do I need to do in order to be the champion? Etc., etc. Because actually our mind is negative by default. And we actually can't comprehend the negative. We tend to set negative-based goals. So let's again use a live example, Joe, and say, if I said to you, don't think of pink elephants, although you're trying not to, I'm sure you've got the image of a pink elephant in your head. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So even if I said don't do something, you end up doing it. So the mistake that people make is they say, I don't want to smoke, I don't want to drink, I don't want to be single, I don't want to be poor. Now, on the face of it, they sound like pretty good goals. But we could replace that language with something that is just as effective or even more effective but means the same thing. So instead of I don't want to be single, I want to be in a relationship. Instead of I don't want to be poor, I want to be rich. Why are we talking about things we don't want when we can talk about things we do want? Instead of I don't want to smoke, I want to be an athlete. Now, obviously, if you're an athlete, you're probably not going to smoke, are you? So if we talk about what we want to bring in, it will change our mindset and our belief system, and get rid of some of our limiting beliefs as well, and allow us to move forward with actually what we want to achieve in life. So I know I've sort of rambled on a little bit there, but I'm gone off a few tangents, but actually everything's linked together. And it's a case of understanding that, yes, there are separate parts or separate petals on a flower, but at the end of the day, they are still part of the same flower. And that's what the first book is trying to encompass, is saying that, yes, you've got all these areas, the morning routine, what do you do in the mornings? Do you just sit on your phone and scroll through Facebook, or do you actually sit down and plan your day out and exercise and all those sorts of things? Yes, you might think that's in isolation, but it's not. Everything works on a collective. So that's where that book has essentially gone. So.
Yeah, I've actually experienced that because I used to do snowboarding and skiing. And if there was a rock in front of you or a tree, and you were looking at that, guess where you would end up? You'd end up on the rock. And so when you're doing that, you learn quite quickly that you need to look where you're going. Don't look where you're not going, just because the chances of hitting that rock, pretty high if all you're doing is looking at that rock, because your body will somehow just automatically just go there. So
I love that metaphor. And the same with motorbikes as well. If you ever rode a motorbike, if you look somewhere, your body, everything just follows. Different to a car. A car you can keep you wheel straight and you can look around and it's fine. But anything that you're sort of directly part of, so motorbike, you're basically part of that machine, aren't you? And same with skiing, etc. You are part of your own mind and psyche, and what you aim at, not necessarily that you will 100% hit it, but as you said, the likelihood of hitting it is much increased. So if you're aiming to be a nothing, you're probably going to become a nothing. If you're aiming to be something, you may become something. I'm not saying that just because you aim somewhere, you're going to become that necessarily. So an example I use to illustrate that is to say, look, I could train 18 hours a day to become a sprinter, and become the next Usain Bolt, but it's not going to happen because I don't have the physical attributes to do that. Yes, there are some attributes that even if you worked as hard as you want and wrote down all the goals and visualization and stuff, it's not going to happen for you. So there is some parameters that we need to work within. But once we've worked out our own parameters, then we can move forward. You've got a gift. Everyone's got a gift or an array of gifts, things that they were good at. And sometimes it's worth looking back at your childhood, at what you were good at, what you enjoyed to do, and what you got or still get complimented on. So people don't compliment people for nothing. They are generally giving out good vibes so that you know that you're good at that thing and to continue doing it. So again, you can think about that in your own life. What do I get complimented on? Oh, I get complimented on this, this, and this. Or maybe I should continue to do those things. Excellent. I don't get complimented on that, and in fact, people say that I'm not very good at that thing. Maybe I should stop doing it. Now, I'm not saying that you should never work on your weaknesses, but what I'm saying is there's two types of weaknesses. There's related weaknesses and unrelated weaknesses. So let's say I'm a tennis player. An unrelated weakness is the fact that I'm terrible at maths. Does that really matter because I'm a professional tennis player? Probably not. So I probably shouldn't spend time doing maths, even though people say work on your weaknesses. For me, it's work on your related weaknesses. So again, tennis player, I've got a really good forehand, but I've got a terrible backhand and terrible serve. I should be working on those because that is related to my primary objective as, well, I'm already a professional tennis player in this example, but to be the best. So it's upskilling those areas for improvement, not weakness, areas for improvement or related weakness that's going to help you to get your goal. But we need to focus on the positive. Be optimistic and not pessimistic. If you were to start up a business today and you were saying, "Oh, it's probably going to fail, and I'm going to go bankrupt," you're probably not going to start the business because you've already defeated yourself in the mind first. If you were to say, "Do you know what? This business could work. I could make this amount of money. I could serve these people. I could really help and push this forward," you're probably more likely to start it. Now, I'm not saying that just because you thought that way and started a business, it's going to go successful or be successful, but at least you've started it and you've learned. Even if it goes badly, you've still learned something from it. I think in Florida, they are more likely to lend to someone who's been bankrupt previously than someone who hasn't, because they're saying, "Look, you've learned from it. You've started this project. You're probably not going to make the same mistake again." Now, whether I agree or not agree, whether I agree with that or not is irrelevant. But you can start to see that failure is important. You shouldn't look at failure as, turn back. This is the obstacle. Let me turn back. It should be like, what skill? Again, that's the right question. Mentality. What skills do I need to get beyond that obstacle? What skills would I develop by going through that obstacle? What's holding me back? Why is it my limiting beliefs? What am I going to become once I've done that thing? Some of the best stories we've ever heard of are ones that really resonate with us is when people have gone through severe pain and difficulty and they've come from really hard beginnings and achieved something. And the reason we can resonate with that is because we deep down ourselves actually want that as well. We want to go through the challenges to at the end stand on top of the mountain with the flag in and say, "Yeah, we made it." Because the journey's just important as the destination for me.
Yeah. Tony Robbins talks about that. He says, "Ask a lousy question, get a lousy answer." Like if you ask, what's wrong with me? Well,
Yeah.
it'll give you a whole list of things what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So it's quite important. But you mentioned your gift.
Yeah.
So what is your gift?
So I feel that for me, okay, so let's come back to this. So there's something called ikigai. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where it's saying what does the world need, what am I good at, what do I enjoy doing, all that sort of stuff. But then there's so many different ways you can look at it. The other thing is that as far as intelligence goes, again, a phrase is that you can't judge a fish's ability to climb a tree. So there's different types of intelligence. There's linguistic intelligence, musical intelligence, teaching intelligence, etc., mathematical or number-based intelligence. I think for me, teaching is one of my gifts. So yes, coaching and teaching is part of the same sort of thing. And as a financial advisor as well, I'm there to help teach and explain to clients how things work, as opposed to selling something to them. And when you put that into any area of life, you can use that specific skill to succeed. So there has to be a couple of things. One, you need to be good at something, and two, you need to be interested in it. So let's say that teaching is my thing. I could teach, let's think of something I don't really like, cricket. Okay, so cricket, I could teach cricket. But that's not going to be my ikigai, because I don't enjoy cricket. Yes, I've got a good gift for teaching, but I don't enjoy cricket. So it's probably going to be something that I would resent doing long term. So we need to have a balance between things we're good at, things we enjoy to do, and things we can make money from long term. Because yes, we don't need to necessarily look for money in the initial side, but we need to be able to provide such value that later on there is some reward. Again, tennis player, but just because we've used that as an example a few times. Roger Federer, when he was a child, wasn't necessarily thinking about the money that he would make to become a tennis player. He probably realised very early on that he had a gift for playing tennis, hand-eye coordination. Probably could have picked a few sports, to be fair, but obviously stuck with tennis. He was probably very poor during those early years when people were getting jobs, and not poor, but if you know what I mean, while they were going to university, they had their own fixed life plan. Whereas for him, it was a case of make it or don't make it, sink or swim. And now he's reaping the rewards of all those years of not thinking about money, but thinking about developing his craft. Drug dealers know this, and not that I'm pro drug dealers or anything, but they give things away free first. So sometimes I'll be like, try this, and even restaurants do that. Try one of these lovely new chicken pieces that we've got, and then you think, oh great, that's really nice. I'll buy one from you, and then they've got you. Yeah. Same with life. You shouldn't be focusing on the money side. You should be focusing on the value that you're going to bring. Give value, give value, give value. Whatever you give, you will receive, and that's something from the Bible, of course. But you have to give stuff out first before you're going to receive something. If you're saying, "Well, I need to be paid first," that's why you're never going to be successful.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. I used to live with a drug dealer many decades ago.
Yeah.
And he used to have like, we'd go to the pub and set the table outside, and he'd bring out some cocaine and start making lines like that. Take a line, and I was like, I'm living with this guy. How do I say no? So I just started saying, I'm not feeling it today. Maybe another day,
Yeah.
I just kept saying that. But yeah, you're right. Like what I'd have to do is take it a few times, and boom, I'd be begging for cocaine from him. So.
Well, this is it. You got to play the long game, and this is where many businesses actually utilize this strategy. Come in for your free coffee, come in for your free cheeseburger, come in for free this, free that. And yes, they're going to have a huge outlay up front, but they may gain something from it later on. Same reason people do podcasts and write books and do all these things, because yes, they're not necessarily getting money, they're not getting paid to write a book, but they are hoping that they're going to give so much value that maybe they'll be remunerated for how much value they're bringing. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
for me, it's all about value, 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 and that's where obviously my first book is saying, look, if you want to become valuable, you need to be. Look, the first things first is being in good physical shape. If you're not in good physical shape, people already have a view on you. Number one. Number two, your mind is not operating at optimum capacity, because the mind and body and soul connection is not working efficiently. If you're 20 stone and you're 5'5", believe me, if you were half that weight and even less than that, you would be operating at such high capacity. I mean, I know myself. When I go through days of more poor diet, or if I've had less sleep, or hungover, or whatever it is, my brain does not function at full capacity. And if you're living like that indefinitely over a period of time, there's going to be a huge downside to where you're going to end up, essentially. So yeah, we need to provide value. So that's the first book. The second book is more about, okay, we understand that we need to be valuable. Great. How can we, as we said, ask the right questions? So obviously, I sort of picked the questions, 366 questions, because obviously leap years, and you then write down your answers. So, okay, first question, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Or where do I want to be in 5 years' time? I'll put some guidance in. Have you thought about relationship-wise, career-wise, country, weather, what sort of physical shape do you want to be in? Okay. And then you got a few pages to write down your answer. Well, if you want to be physically aesthetic and have a six-pack and all that, what do you need to be doing for the next 5 years every day? Exercise, okay, that needs to go on the daily to-do list. If you want to have written 5 books in the next 5 years, okay, you need to be writing a page a day minimum to get there in 5 years' time. Okay, I want to be a director at a corporate job. Okay, well, where do you want to be in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5? What skill sets do you need to develop? Is there any qualifications that you're going to need? Do you maybe need to move industry or maybe move company in order to get there? So there's loads of sub questions, obviously, but the main question is important to give you those sub questions to ask. And obviously, in the guidance section, there is some sub questions as well. So, who's your ideal partner? What height, what colour hair, what religion are they going to be? Are they going to be European or American or whatever? Because we need to specify things in order to understand exactly what we want. So let's say today I was, okay, I've got a good example. So Joe, you would say to me, I want more money. I get in my pocket and give you a 2p piece. In theory, I've actually given you more money, haven't I? So you're richer now than you were 2 minutes ago. But it's not really what you meant, because you didn't specify. So much like that example, for us, we need to specify what we mean. Okay, by more money, I mean that I want to be earning £100,000 consistently year in, year out by doing X, Y, and Z. And obviously, Think and Grow Rich is a fantastic book as well, that talks about that. I want to be earning $50,000 for my services as a blah, blah, blah in 6 months' time. And yet, doing that alone is not going to get you anywhere. But because you've told your mind this is where we're going, this is what we're going to be doing, your mind will be more motivated to do the relevant bits in order to get you there. Does that make sense? So I think all of that's mentality. It's all about how you're thinking.
Mm.
You've got to believe you're the best before you're the best. The old fake it till you make it analogy. Muhammad Ali, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these guys, they all believe they're the best.
Especially Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Well,
if you don't believe it, well, who else is going to believe it?
That's true.
If I say to you, look, we'll use judo as an example because I do judo. I started up again about 30, and I'm 32 now. But in the top 16 at the moment. If I was to set a goal and say, look, I'm going to go to judo, I'm going to go once a week, just to keep fit. Where do you think in 5 years' time my level in judo is going to be?
Just to keep fit, you'll just be same place.
That's my goal, isn't it? So it's probably not going to be great. Not going to be fantastic, is it? If I had a goal of I want to be world champion within 5 years, do you think my training will be different?
Everything will be different.
I would be training 5 days a week. I'd be training a lot harder. I'd be not being sociable as much at training. I would be really, really focused. I'd have a set schedule for, okay, what's this quarter looking like? What's next quarter looking like? What's the third quarter, fourth quarter? What results do I want by the end of year 1? Okay, what results do I want after year 1? Obviously gone. What results do I want this year? Etc. etc. The other guy who's a recreational and wants to just do it once a week for fitness, unless there's a very, and this is an almost impossible chance, unless he's got a supernatural talent for it, and he goes there and just somehow he's just incredible, he might. But for the other 99.99999% chance, it's impossible for them to ever get to that level because they haven't got those ambitions. You see it all the time. Sports people are just easy to use for this. They said, "Oh, when I was 6 years old, I had a dream of being world champion." You can see the footage of them saying that at 6 years old. And the good thing about kids is that they have huge ambitions, and they don't let people talk down to them, saying, "Oh, it's never going to work. You should stick with your job. You should not bother doing that. This could happen. This could happen. This could happen." Kids are focused, and sometimes we need to go back to how we thought as a kid, which was optimistic, thinking big, thinking that anything can come to us no matter what, not worrying about how we're going to get things. They're going to come to us. And I think that's a massive thing for us as adults to go back to, because look, we were sort of poorly programmed in school, I believe, to be more negative in how we view life, and I just think that's a really bad way to live your life. If you're getting upset by someone cutting you up on the motorway in a Hyundai, you've got some serious issues. If you're being controlled by someone cutting you up and they're able to affect your frame, you're not going to have a very happy life, because guess what? Tomorrow, it's going to be a Toyota Prius that's going to cut you up, and you're going to be upset again. And over the course of a year, if you're getting upset over that, and you're also getting upset over the fact that the rain is falling today, or that you're a minute, or the bus is a minute late, or that you are running out of petrol, or the queue at the Sainsbury's or Tesco's, and you're getting angry about all these little things, you're going to be angry most of the day. You're then going to be angry most of the year, and then your temperament will actually turn into anger. So why don't we say, okay, well, why am I getting angry about things I know are going to happen? I know that when I go to the shop, it's probably going to be a queue. I know that I'm going to have to wait to get my coffee at Starbucks. I know that I'm going to have to wait for my food while I'm in a restaurant. Why are we getting upset about these sorts of things? And again, it's all about how we manage our mind and thought process. Statements, so affirmations and questions, and try and mould our mind into the best possible plant. When you've got a plant in the garden, you give it the best, assuming you're a gardener and all that, you'll give it the best compost, you'll give it the best food and nutrition, you'll give it the best chance of sunlight in terms of where it is in the garden location wise. You'll ensure that if there isn't sufficient rainfall, that you'll water the plant yourself. Unless we plant plants, weeds grow by default. And that's what many people I see around, and it really upsets me when I see people they're just agitated all day long. They've got no goals, no ambitions. They just wander through life aimlessly. And Earl Nightingale said it beautifully once. He said that success is working towards a worthy ideal. So doesn't that what that worthy ideal is to you? To you, that could be, as I said, being a teacher. You could want to be a teacher to kids just to help influence them to grow up and be better human beings. And you're a teacher, that's a success. It could be that you want to be a world champion athlete. Again, success. If you get there, you're working towards it at least. So how do we find our own success? People ask me, look, what is success? Well, bit of a broad question, isn't it, mate? What should I be doing in my life? What makes a great day? Well, what's a great day for you? It's not the same for everyone, is it? Some people want to lie on a beach, and some people want to be working 24 hours a day. We need to, and this is where coaching comes in. Yes, I understand all these concepts, but what does it mean specifically to you and to your position? And how could I help you with where you are and where you want to be using all these bits to get you there? And I think that's really what separates like a mentor and a counsellor from a coach, because counselling is looking at the past pain that you've been through and why you've got to where you are. A mentor is someone who's been through something very specific. So they've been a professional tennis player and they're mentoring you, who has got the credentials to get there as well. And then a coach, transformation coach, is just saying, what do you want and how can I help you get there? And we can work together on that. So that's really the crucial difference, Joe.
Ah, nice. Okay. You, as a biohacker, I'm always trying to find ways to optimize my life. So what I'm curious with you is, how have you hacked your life? As in, how have you optimized your life? What are your biggest life hacks or optimizers that you use?
So for me, it's, as we've talked about, having the positive attitude, being optimistic, and all that. So we'll sort of breeze past that. I'll give maybe a few more practical tips. So for me, it's not getting overwhelmed. There's so many people who are overwhelmed by, oh my God, I've got to do all these tasks and stuff. Just break it down. Just break down stuff into daily habits. Writing a book, all it is 1 page a day. We don't need to think about, oh, I've got to write a book and what am I going to do. Just break it down. One page a day is all we need to do. You want to be big and strong, you just need to go to the gym half an hour a day, 45 minutes maximum. The results will take care of themselves if you do the right things. Oh, I want to start or do better at work. Well, have the right attitude. Do a bit more. Blah blah blah. So just do the little things, and we'll get there. Write down your goals every day. Be grateful for what you've already got. What affirmations are you talking to yourself in, or what are you saying to yourself as a human being? So it's all these little changes that make the big difference. It can't just be one thing necessarily. It can't be, oh well.
Yeah, so in terms of your own biggest, so for me, like I've done a lot of optimizing in my life. I've done a lot of biohacking, or life hacks, and the biggest ones for me, and the ones that I keep in my life, like, and I'll probably keep in my life for the rest of my life, is like keto, breath work, intermittent fasting, like you say, exercise. Like I've worked on my exercise so much, it's now a daily part of my life. Like I don't actually have to, like spend an hour in the gym.
Yeah,
Like I'll do my chin ups when I'm on the train or the tube.
yeah.
I'll if I'm waiting for a train, I'll do squats. Like things like that. So if I come to stairs rather than take the lift, I'll take the stairs. So
Does it have to be physical?
sorry.
Do you mean something physical
No,
or?
no, no, no. I mean, just what have you done that?
Okay.
And because I know you're massively into mindset. So
Yeah.
what mindset things have you got that give you the biggest, or anything in life?
Okay. So let's just use one. And there are loads. As I said earlier, affirmations, setting goals, having a daily routine in place that's in line with where you want to be in 3, 5 years time. Have an optimistic attitude, in short, understanding that failure is part of the process, all of that. But for me, there's one that's been the biggest game changer, and that's finding a, even a single positive from every single thing that happens to you, even if it's the worst thing ever. So you've lost a football match or lost a contest. That's a negative position, isn't it? But what positives can you take from that? Did you find yourself that you did something good in that game? Did you find yourself digging in when you were tired? Did you find that you gelled with one of your teammates if it's a team game? If it's an individual game, did you find that you did your best serve ever during that game, but you still lost the game? What positives can you find? Your car breaks down, yeah, on your drive. Yes, your car's broken down, it's going to cost you money. But what positives can you look at? Okay, well, my car was going to break down anyway. I'm glad it broke down on my drive rather than 400 miles away from home when I was going on, driving to the airport, and it was raining and it was pouring down. My phone was dead, and I had to wait 3 hours for the recovery guard to come out. There's anything you can think of in life. You've been sacked from your job. Now it might give me a chance to find a job that I really love and enjoy. Maybe it will give me a chance to find a similar job closer to home with better pay, and maybe I can work from home. Finish with my relationship with my boyfriend or girlfriend. Obviously, negative, and you're probably going to be upset. But could I now use this time to save money, work on myself, find a better partner? So, from every negative, there's always a positive. Whether it doesn't matter if there's more negatives than positives, that's besides the point. We need to focus on the positive side always, and that's going to put us in a good mental frame that then motivates us to go on to the next step. So for me, that's been the biggest game changer. So when you're feeling upset, I still have to practice this now and practice this today. When something isn't going that well, what positives can come from that?
So do you use that in everyday life?
Everyday life. Like, look, today's the funeral of the Queen, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. So negative situation. Whether you're pro monarchy or not, irrelevant. Let's just say it's a bad thing. Someone's died. But is there a positive that can come from this? Bringing everyone together is one. Yeah. People have a day off, and not saying that this is a good thing, but people have a day off. There is a positive. There's always some positives that you can take from every single thing. You've been made bankrupt. Okay, you can start afresh. Pete Jones, the guy on Dragon's Den,
yes, yeah,
obviously one of the main ones, isn't he? He made 200 million, and then he lost it all, every single penny. But he made it all back, 250 million pounds back. And the reason why is because, yes, they can take your money away and claim you just bankrupt. But what they can't take away from him, what he's learnt over all those years, is skill sets, the networks, the contacts, and the business ideas that worked and didn't work. So he just basically did it all over again because he said, "Look, yeah, fucked up, but I'm still the same person. And I will prove it." If you go bankrupt and you didn't generate or learn anything, it was just you just sort of peaked too early and lost it too soon, then maybe it's a little bit different. But if you've got something that's eternal, Mike Tyson, another example, he went bankrupt, didn't he, Mike Tyson?
yeah.
But he will never ever be broke, ever, really, because he's just got so much value. He can go on talk shows, he can go on podcasts, he can be a boxing coach. People will pay to mentor him. He's got an exciting life. People want to write a book about him, all these sorts of things. He will never be broke because he's got an inherent value. The money's irrelevant. That's the financial side. I'm talking about the value, the monetary value behind something can never be. Well, it can be lost in certain cases, but if you put yourself in a position where you're focused on your own value, it's going to be very hard for anyone to take that away from you.
Mm. Every cloud has a silver lining.
Love it, love it.
Yeah,
It does. It does indeed.
I
Like,
don't know.
even coming back to Mike Tyson, sorry, just
Yeah, go on.
to finish off on Mike Tyson, he actually said as well a couple of months back that the best thing that ever happened to him was his mum dying. Now that's a deep statement. Like, that is deep, and he probably didn't feel like that at the time. But because his mum died at a young age, when he was fairly young, he had to then become a much stronger man and take accountability for his own actions. You see it all the time with people who come from very wealthy families who have never had to do anything in their life. When they're out in the real world, they get eaten alive. Whereas those that have maybe had bad parents but have had to do everything themselves, they're very mature for their age. So there's always, for your strength is your biggest weakness, and all. I can put out 100 phrases that mean the same thing, but also don't as well, and that it all shows that positive can come from negative every single time, and that's what we need to understand. Rocky Balboa, with his story, sold his own dog and rejected contracts for the films, and he's now believed in it so much that those negatives are irrelevant. So yeah, that's I think that's the number one hack for me, is to find a positive within any negative situation. Doesn't matter how bad it is. You've lost your leg, broken your leg. Well, could have broke two legs. I could still hobble around on crutches rather than be in the wheelchair. So all something to take.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that from. The every cloud is silver, but for some reason, I genuinely believed it, and all throughout my life, like every time something bad happened, like my first thought would be, every cloud is a silver lining. So now, as soon as something bad happens, I'm looking for the silver lining.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's going to be a silver lining somewhere here, and I'm like so focused on it. Like, don't matter, some really bad shit's happened to me, but the silver lining has always been there.
Yeah.
It's just like you seek and is it something what Jesus says?
Yeah, seek and you will find.
Yeah,
and knocking on the door will be opened unto you.
that's right, and that is actually true for me. Like
Yeah.
doors just open for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. You know, God works in mysterious ways. Again, you can look throughout history and millions of stories. You feel like you've been put into a corner, and you feel like, well, why am I here? What have I ever done? But that's actually the right path for you, and you'll see why in a chapter or two's time, if that makes sense, if you're in your own story. So that's why wherever I am, whatever position I'm in, good or bad, I'm quite stoic with how I think. So, well, yeah, part of the journey. You know, maybe I'm not liking it at this point, but maybe I will do in 5 years' time. Because look, if you look back at your life 5 years, 10 years ago, a lot of things you've got now you wanted back then, and you're still not happy. So why are you not happy about the things that you've got now that you wanted 5 years, 10 years ago? And do you not feel that in 5, 10 years' time it's going to be the same thing? So in that, with that vein, you should have faith in yourself for the future. Have you not got through every bad thing that's ever happened to you? Monetary problems, you know, relationship problems. You're still here. You're still here, aren't you? And it doesn't really matter anymore, does it?
Yeah, that's right.
So, you know, it's just the current state of mind is always negative, and we need to reprogram that to find the positive, find the positive, find the positive. And after a while,
So how do you
you find positives.
so how do you reprogram your mind to being positive by default rather than being negative by default? That's what I like to know.
Well, habits. Habits important. I think it's 66 days it takes for a habit to become permanent. And yes, you can go back to old ways. I think once you've had a habit, you know, if you've ever smoked, even if you've stopped smoking, there is a chance you could go back into that routine, that circuit, yeah, because you've done it before and it's familiar. So we need to continue to keep progressing forward with this new positive mindset, and as we said, you know, making sure that we've got good affirmations, lofty goals, and all that sort of stuff together. But it needs to be a daily discipline. There's no, you know, how can we stay committed? Yes, it's 60 days, 66 days is normally how long it takes for a routine to kick in. But we need to be conscious of what we're trying to achieve. Every time something negative happens, so, okay, it's raining outside. Oh my God, I've got to walk to the shops. Well, if the rain didn't fall, you wouldn't have these beautiful flowers to look at. So, you know, you can't win either way. You know, most people look at the losing side every time. Look at the winning side. Look at the benefit of something, and that is hard to do consciously every day. And every sort of at every crossroads, should we say, every intersection, we have to look and say, well, what positive is coming from this? It's going to be hard at first for all the listeners out there. It's going to be very, very hard. But after a while, after a week or two, you'll start to see things picking up. And then, as I said, 60, 66 days, it will just become second nature. Like, I don't have to think about positives anymore. Someone will say, oh, what's positive? Like, yeah, that's it. And they go, yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then that's it. And then, like, oh, I didn't think about that. But my mind's are now focused on that so much that um, that I tend to sometimes see that before even the negative thing. And I think it's a massive massive way to look at things. I went to, as I said, I was number 11 in judo last month in the country. I'm now number 13, and at the time, because I lost 2 fights at my last competition, and when you lose two, you're out. It's compound knockout repechage. And at the time, I was livid. I was like, oh my God. Now, pretty much after that, I thought, do you know what? I'm quite happy that happened because, look, you learn more from losing than you do from winning. I've learned so much from that loss, and it's made me more motivated now than ever to get back and win. I now know obviously why I lost, and it now gives me the opportunity to learn how to stop that happening next time. Which, let's say that I then learn that then increases the level of my game indefinitely, forever. And then again, the same mistake next time that I'll find that out and again improve. So if you want to get to the top, like boxers, so to be the heavyweight champion of the world, you have to be punched in the face so many times. They've been punched in the face more times than I have, but they're better than me. It's not how many times you get punched in the face. It's what you've learned from those punches that's important. Like maybe a lot of people listening have probably never been punched in the face, and they say, "Well, I've never been punched in the face, so I must be better than Tyson Fury." It's not how it works. It's not how it works. You have to be bombarded in order to grow. Flowers, when flowers grow in the garden, you know what pruning is? Pruning as gardeners. When you cut the flower back, the dead heads, and they grow back stronger. Same thing. You sometimes need to have setbacks pruned back so you grow back stronger. And obviously, that's what happened in that competition. I lost those fights to help me to, well, basically pruning me, cutting me back to then allow me to flourish on the other side. So, yeah, at the time, obviously, your mind will always go to, oh my God, I lost, blah, 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 because no one likes losing, despite what they may tell you. But it's all about, once you've got past that emotional initial thinking process, to sit back and be more logical about how you're going to move forward and what you can do to improve your life and that specific element of your life in that instance. So yeah.
Yeah, your Rocky talks about that. Like it's not about how many times you've been knocked down. It's how many times you've been knocked down and you've gotten back up.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally it. It's literally it.
And what would you teach your kids? Like now that you've learned so much, you've gone through so much pain. Like how would you bring your kids up? Like what do you want them to would take away from you?
So there's a couple. There's really two. There's two ends of the spectrum, isn't there? One is that you want to be really positive with them, help them be very high in self-image, very high in self-esteem, and the way you do that is by telling them they're really good at things and encouraging. So the only way, if you put people down too much, they actually lose self-esteem. So I want the kids to keep their self-image and self-esteem and tell them, they are the best and all that sort of thing. But on the flip side, you also want to ensure that you're not being too easy on them, because you want to ensure that they are finding themselves in uncomfortable situations outside of their comfort zone to develop. So you can actually do both. You can still increase their self-esteem, increase their self-image, but you can also throw them in the lions pit, throw them in the lions den without any, you're not going to be there to help them in that situation. You can be watching on the side, but they're in that position on their own. So a manager can be there watching the football team, but he can shout out whatever he wants. So the individual is in their own little bubble, and they're experiencing that through their own senses and feelings and their positioning. And I would ensure that for my kids, they're the two bits that I would be really key on, as well as helping them to find out what they're good at and what they really love to do, and helping push that forward in a way that's going to maybe give them chance of success later on. If someone is, I don't know, cricket, even though I don't like cricket, let's say they are the best bowler in school, they're the best bowler in the county. There's no point in me trying to get them to do mathematics and become a mathematician, is there? That's just ridiculous. Even though, let's say, whether it's more prestigious or not, it's an argument, but let's say mathematicians are more prestigious in an academic side. It's not in the eyes of many other people, and it's not in the eye of the actual kid who loves cricket and wants to play cricket professionally. So I think that's where a lot of parents go wrong, is they try to shoehorn people into, be a doctor, be an engineer, be this, be that, be that.
Indians are very good at that.
Very bad at that. Very bad. Honestly, they're the worst. And I think Asians in general is the worst at that. Be an accountant, be a solicitor. Why though? You're soul destroying for me every day. Why not? Yes. Let's say I did go down this professional tennis career and I didn't make it. I can always go back to some of this other shit.
You
start a business. Yes, you failed. You can always go back to the life that you had previously, always. Because you've got the experience of that job, you can go back and get that job. And yes, you're going to probably be in a worse financial situation. That's a given. But you can still go back to the same old life you had. So why would you not go for something?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
if I was to go back for myself, I would have gone with interests only, and I would have been more, and I would have ensured that I was more disciplined as a kid, and explained. I would have loved to have explained to me, and maybe I did, and maybe I was immature. I don't know, but to have the best life, you need to be the best version. A tree will grow as big as it can based on where it's planted, or wherever it's planted, it will grow as big as it can. Humans don't do that. We smoke, we drink, blah blah blah. I was like that as well. Because I was quite intelligent. I used to think I can get away with this, I can get away with that. If I'd had the focus and someone had maybe asked me some questions instead of telling me stuff as a kid, do this, don't do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, and ask me, well, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? How do you think you're going to get there? Oh, I need to do. Well, if you need to be doing this and that, this and the other, and you need to be working hard, and you're doing this, you're not going to get there, are you? No. But do you want to get there? Yeah. Well, why not start doing that? Yeah, I should. I think that's a better way to get through to people. That's what coaching does.
yeah.
Is you get them to say it. You don't say it. You don't say do this, do that. People don't want to be told what to do. Really, we might think we do. We don't.
Yeah, you mentioned discipline.
Yeah.
Now, how would you instill that in your kids? Discipline.
It's discipline is a different beast for Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones. The two extremes are a carrot and a stick, aren't they?
Mm.
For some people, they need the carrot to remain disciplined and focused towards the goal, and for other people, they need the stick. So it depends on your personality type, if I'm honest, as to how I would install discipline. You have to understand everyone's different and how they work, and then you can find a way that's going to be best suited to them, and help them remain disciplined as much as.
So how would it be for you then? How would you
Well, for me,
instill discipline in yourself?
the only way that I remain disciplined is to focus on the end goal. That's it. I'm a carrot, but I'm a carrot person. I'm not one that's going to punch myself in the legs and say, "Oh, do it now." That's not how I work. I work on focusing on, okay, with the books or judo or the coaching. This is where I want to be in 5 years' time. This is all I'm focusing on, and I need to do this every day in order to get there, and that's what keeps me focused and disciplined. As I said, other people, they will say, "This is not where I want to be. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be doing this." But as I said, for me, looking at what we want versus what we don't want is way more powerful.
Okay. And what's the because we're going to wrap up now. What's the, like, if there was one thing, just one thing you wanted to get across to the listeners, what would that one thing be? What do you want to, like your biggest thing to take away would be?
Okay, well, to be honest, we've covered a lot of one things in that respect.
Yeah.
Looking at the positive out of anything. But what I would say is to try and summarise it all. Be honest with yourself, based on your skill set, your physique, your mentality, money in the bank, whatever you want to do. Rate yourself from 1 to 10. So let's say that you've said, "Oh, I'm a 3. I'm a bit overweight. I've got a job that I could be doing a lot better in. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. I'm not setting goals day to day. I'm not motivating myself. I'm going out too much socially. I'm not taking enough risks in life. I'm single, blah blah blah." And you're 3. How are you going to get yourself to a 10, or at least as close to a 10 as possible? Sit down and have a think about that. What daily routines and habits do you need to instill? How do you need to think in order to get there? Because for me, that's a massive thing. Getting from a 4 to an 8 is massive. You're probably going to double your income. You're going to improve your physique. You're going to improve your social skills because you're going to be able to communicate better. You're going to improve your knowledge because you're probably going to have to read more in order to get those skills, and you're going to have to apply the skills. You're probably going to end up with a better spouse. You're probably going to end up being a better dad or a mum. So yeah, massive. Get yourself up from whatever number you are to the highest number possible, and then from there you will be a person of value, and you will then get everything you're after in life.
Brilliant. And how do people get in touch with you? What what can you do for people? What services are you offering, and then how do they contact you?
Yeah, so couple of ways. So obviously the book is on Amazon, so that's not contacting me directly, but it's something that obviously I'm sharing my thoughts, and it's a way to try and understand some of what I've said today. In terms of the coaching, as you said at the start of the podcast, Vanquish Transformational Coaching is where you can find me. I'm sure you're going to leave a link in the description.
I will.
Anyway,
yeah,
you can just contact me and say, look, I want to initial chat. There's going to be no cost for that. We'll see if we're on the same page, and we'll see if we can help you. And then if you can, we can arrange a consultation, and we'll see if we can help. Well, we will be able to help you sort yourself out. Whether it's, as I said, getting from a 5 to a 10, or whether it's even getting out the gutter. Sometimes you just need to speak to someone about ways that you can change, because sometimes we need to look outside of the box. And when we're in our own box, we need someone else to look at us. So Tiger Woods, he's got a coach, even a golfing coach. And you're thinking, well, how could anyone teach Tiger Woods about golf? But he can't see his own swing. Sometimes you can't see something, that's right in front of your face because you're in the game. And sometimes it takes someone like a coach who's got experience in this realm to ask you the right questions and maybe change your perspective that will help you to move forward.
Okay, and can they get hold of you on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that?
Yes, Instagram, I've got a Vanquish Transformational 2022. We've got about 20,000 followers now on there. So that's obviously a way as well. But as I said, I'm sure all of these links will be left in the description.
They will be, yeah.
So yeah, you can reach out to me on any of those links, and be happy to help you become your best self.
Brilliant! Thank you very much. That's
Thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah, like I've learned a lot from you. The positive thing that is I think a big one. Just even the slightest thing. I wake up late. Okay, what's the positive in that?
Yeah, exactly.
There's
always positives. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always a positive somewhere. Even if there's 99 sort of disadvantages, there's always an advantage somewhere. And it's important to understand what that is. Definitely, especially for the psyche. But yeah, I really enjoyed today, Joe.
And you mentioned, I think it was, what was it? Like, I come across people, where like they have 10 things go well, and then one thing goes badly that day, and all they do is focus on that one thing.
Yeah. Like I said, the Hyundai that's cut you up.
Yeah.
And I've been with friends who have been in the car with them, and they've been cut up by this 50-year-old woman, obese 50-year-old woman in a Hyundai, and he's upset for the rest of the day. And I'm like, literally, you're letting that one little thing put you in a mood for the rest of the day. Oh my God, they've run out of my sandwiches. Oh, I'm so angry. Oh, mate, honestly, you need to grow up, because if you think like that, you're gonna have such a horrible life. You're gonna have such a horrible attitude throughout life, and you're gonna be upset, and then you're gonna be resentful, and you're gonna take it out on other people, and you're gonna lose friends over it. So just be light-hearted, be someone who doesn't let things affect them too much, and be logical, because bad things are gonna happen all the time. But it's a case of being in control of your own mind.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. That's been very enlightening for me as well. I'm gonna write all this up and be positive, find the silver lining, and train my brain to be more positive, like by default. I think that's brilliant. All right.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you very much. I will put all the links and everything in there, and I'll post it, and I'll connect you to it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Yeah. All right.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.